Welcome once again to another edition of Quoth, Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, talent scout, publisher of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And this is a Thursday evening, so we're going to be doing What Did You Get This Week? And we're going to review a bunch of stuff that came in the previews catalog this week. And we're going to do some reviews of comics that I'm behind on, and hopefully we'll get caught up on. The reason we started a little bit late is because my dumbass dad's too lazy to do the cooking. So I had to cook at like 8:15. Not fun. So not easy to do. But anyway, what did we get this week? Well, we had a very short week this week. I don't know why the camera just went fuzzy on us, but we only got 2 books other than the previous catalog this week, probably because it's the end of the month. We got Meta, the Meta-Linguistics Crime Division, Scout Comics #1, and we've got Heavy Metal #318 with a cover by Greg Hildebrandt, which means Monday will be another Heavy Metal Monday, and we'll review these 2 books on Monday along with some other product. So there's not much there for this week as far as me getting stuff in. So let's move on to what we have for reviews, if I can figure out what just happened. Alrighty. There we are. We start with back issue 137 for $10.95. Tomorrow's Publishing. Various writers and artists for ages 13 and up. Genres Interview and Historical Review magazine, released a couple weeks ago in August 2022. This issue's theme is 1980s DC Comics limited series. And only 5 issues after they did their Marvel Limited Series themed issue. Sorry, that's just an observation on my part, but I just, figured kind of doing back to back maybe, but no. Anyway, the features include Secret of the Legion of Superheroes, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, Superman and the Krypton Chronicles, and The Legend of Wonder Woman, among others. What do I think of this? Well, back issue always delivers a quality magazine. My favorite article in this particular episode, or this issue rather, is Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. I think it was one of the first Green Lantern books I bought when I was a kid, back in '81, with issue #2. I was age 9. And that was around the time I was ending my first phase as a comics reader, and before I actually started collecting a few years later as a teenager. TOGLC, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, spurred my interest in science fiction, pulp hero fiction, and started to be down the rabbit hole of E. Doc Smith's Lensman, Keith Lummer's Retief series, and other 60s science fiction, pulp fiction, science fiction heroes as a prose reader. So this article was quite insightful as to how that series came about. And since I haven't got those 3 issues in my collection, it's something worth my seeking out as a back issue item to hunt down. The article on the Krypton Chronicles was interesting as well because I hadn't heard of it before. Basically, the storyline is Morgan Edge assigns Clark Kent to research Superman's family tree, which is real interesting considering his family tree died on another planet, but, weird concept. The next article, of course, is the cover piece on Green Arrow. It was an okay article, but I've never been a Oliver Queen fan, so it was just a quick breeze through for me, and nothing overly significant to me for that. Pop culture, how you doing? Hello, North. Next up is an excellent article on the Power Lords miniseries that DC did in conjunction with the Revell Mom's toy line of action figures from the 1980s that hardly anybody remembers. I myself only remember those action figures because my mother was a toy store manager and the lead buyer representative for an entire store chain, so I got to see him play test lots of crazy stuff as a kid. These came out about 6 or 8 months after I got to playtest the figures before mass release, right before my mom left the job and my father had retired from the Army. So reading this article brought back some childhood memories that were fun and made me kind of wish I had some of those crazy toys in the past. Unfortunately, the comic Power Awards flopped because it never got the cartoon it should have. The toy line didn't do very well either. It probably could have been, should have been as big as Masters of the Universe had been. Had they gotten a cartoon series, they probably would have been. But I really loved this series much more in terms of design than He-Man, because the toy designer was none other than Wayne Douglas Barlow, who was the artist known for Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials, which was and is one of my all-time favorite science fiction art books. I don't know if any of you are out there familiar with that series. That came out in 1979. I do wish Barlow had made more from more modern titles, but alas, I don't think anybody's willing to pay him to do it now. Back in 79, when the book was released originally, it was quite the success, and there was a demand for a sequel, but for whatever reasons he chose not to. In fact, Power Lords, the toy company, came to him wanting to do action figures of the characters in the guidebook, but of course they couldn't because all the different authors owned the copyrights and it's just too convoluted. So he designed all new characters. And that's what led him to that project. Unfortunately, Barlow had zero input on the comics and didn't even know they were being made until after they were already out on the market. Typical stuff going on with corporate things. I will show you Power Lords in just a second. Mark Texiera did one of his earliest jobs on art for that comic series, inked by Jeff D. of Villains and Vigilante fame for part of the series. And it is easily realized why this series is an odd duck that was overlooked. Let me go ahead and show you the Power Lords real quick. You probably won't remember it, but this is the comic. And you might have seen the toy back of the cover toy ad for the Power Lords that's featured there in the pages there. And one of the cool things about the lead character, Adam Power, was the figure spun around at the waist. So you could go with the powered version with the blue skin or the normal human version. Let's see. John's in the house. Good to see you, John. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to have to do my best to get a copy of those as well, because I never even saw the comics. I knew the toys, but I didn't know those comics. So this was a very interesting wow. What kind of greeting have you been getting at the store, at the shows there, John? I mean, oh, it's that guy who's the music director at the show. Hey, how you doing? So I'm going to definitely have to get that miniseries as well when I can find it. Then there was Spanner's Galaxy by Nicholas Cudi and Tom Mandrake, which I never read when it came out because it was during that period between 1982 and 1985 where I wasn't reading comics because I was a damn fool and stupidly thought I had outgrown comics for some reason, or maybe my parents had just inferred it because, it's like, your toys, comics go away. You're old now. Yeah. during those years, I was heavily into prose, science fiction, and fantasy, and D&D gaming before getting reintroduced in '85 to comics. But I've seen this book. I've seen issues of the book in stores as back issues, but I've never took a shine to it. Which again, more fool I. Now I have something else to hunt down because that looks like a really fun series, and I'm glad it got reviewed in this issue. Next up is an interview with Roy Thomas, who is always a fascinating read or listen in conversation. I've had the good fortune of discussing comics with Roy on several occasions. This time it's about a Justice Society miniseries he did where the JSA were accused of treason against America. It's a fun article to read, but as I'm not that big a fan of the early JSA stuff, I'm really only a fan of the Jeff Johns, David Goyer era. I did find it a little bit dry, which was, but if you're really reading Roy, you kind of have to know his voice to understand how excited and how his cadence is to make you interested. I think of it because I was just tired. I wasn't thinking in Roy speak, if you understand my meaning. I love the next thing, which was the Gary Cohn and Ron Randall discussion for their miniseries Conqueror of the Barren Earth. Ron is always talking about that project and how much he wishes he had it back for the rights to that, to do with the property and do more with it. And I think DC should probably just fork it over to them. I mean, it's not like they're going to ever do anything with it. They could also stand to return a lot of critter-owned type stuff back to their creators. Cinder and Ash goes back to Jerry Conway and Garcia Lopez. Tailgunner Joe goes back to Peter Gillis because the Tom Artist passed away in 2007, unfortunately. But I best stop talking about that because that's a topic for another time. I could do a whole 2-3 hour show on stuff that belongs with their creators and not with the publishers. Closing out the issue is an interview with Trina Robbins and Kurt Bouciek about their Legend of Wonder Woman miniseries by Andy Mangels. If you're familiar with Andy's work, he always does solid interviews. This is no exception. I went into this issue thinking it was going to be one of those kind of blah, lackluster issues. Boy, was I wrong. Recommended for ages 13 and up, 5 out of 5 stars. And Monster Fan has entered the room as well. And yes, Roy Thomas on Pop XP, yeah. Anytime, anywhere, like I said, he holds court. He holds court. I'm telling you, it's hilarious. Roy and I and John was actually there. I think Roy was at one of our local comic shops, Heroes and Dragons, promoting his Dark Horse Conan series. A new issue had come out, and it's like Roy and I were talking about the Avengers run with Neil Adams and other things, and we were probably standing there for like 20 minutes before anybody noticed that he was actually there. They were all just ignoring us and going to the comic book rack, getting their new books and leaving, and we're just like, what in the world? Finally, somebody realized, oh my God, there's a comics professional here. And I said, oh yes, there's actually 2 of us. Hi, how are you? But he's the guy who's focused, so I stepped back and let him hold court. But it was quite amusing because that's kind of the fan base around here in Columbia. They completely ignore you unless they're absolutely looking for you at that time. So I don't know if John remembers that particular occurrence or not. Yeah. Roy and Stan are pretty good friends. It's very interesting how many different people have the connections that they don't have, and yet they do have the connections they have. because, as you know, Stan kind of left the editor-in-chief and became the persona in Hollywood for the company more so when Roy was editor-in-chief. And then it went from Roy to a bunch of other guys before Shudder took over for a while. But okay, John doesn't remember that. It might have been one of the times that you couldn't come then, because it was on a weekend and not during the week. So, as I recall, but I could be wrong. It was a December. I know it was in December. I think it was December 07. I think it that was. But anyway. Yes, back issue is a fine publication. So let's go ahead and go on to our next review. And that is for Ginseng Roots number 10. $6, publisher Uncivilized Book, writer-artist Craig Thompson, semi-biographical slice of life genre. It was released August 17th, 2022. And what this particular issue is about, Craig's brother Phil joins him on a book tour in South Korea, where he goes through Seoul and Bucheon, then extending it into a research journey into rural Gyeongsang, which is the epicenter of Korean ginseng cultivation. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, Craig and his family are ginseng farmers in Wisconsin when he was a little kid. And so the whole story is about how his childhood and upbringing affected him. And that's, in this particular case, he got to do this book tour. And they're studying the combination to what they were doing as kids to now. And of course, they talk about the history of art, mythology, and cuisine surrounding ginseng in Korea and in the Eastern country versus American westernized culture. While there, the brothers explore how Craig's paralyzing writer's block at the time and Phil's marital strain are tangled up in their working-class childhood. Now, for one thing, I thought I'd reviewed this series more often than I seem to have. I don't know. I looked back through my archives and I couldn't find it, so it's been a long time, apparently, and I apologize for that. If I'm being honest, I probably lost interest in this series before I had read this. While Thompson is doing an exceptional job with the book, and I do highly recommend it if you want to read and explore some of how Thompson, as an example comics creator, formed into the artist he did, I think it would be interesting for all of us artists to do these type of comics, to see how similar our childhoods were or how they affected us and how comics have impacted us. But in this issue, with Phil and Craig going to the 20th anniversary of the Korean Comics Festival in Bucheon, and Craig showing a little snippet of that experience, which is so much different than American conventions. Over here, nobody cares about Thompson at all. Over there, every major news outlet is there for a press conference just to talk to him. That tells you the difference of comic culture between America and the rest of the world. He talks about why and how he's embraced over there, which I thought was pretty profound. And it makes you think, if only the comics retailers weren't such complete asses and would learn to market comics and not just corporate crap, guys like Thompson would see this kind of reputation and same kind of fan base in America. I'm sure there are plenty of Americans who grew up with strict Christian upbringings, who endured bullying and persecution and tough love at home, who could relate to the themes in Thompson's works, whether it's ginseng or blankets or his child science fiction series Space Dumplings. Now, don't mistake me, Thompson is critically praised for his body of work. He's got 4 Harveys, 3 Eisners, 2 Ignatz Awards to attest to this. But as far as the mainstream comics audience, he's largely ignored. This issue also showed how much the brothers didn't know about the ginseng business, and it opened their eyes as to how things are done in Korea, which again, cultural and ideological shock for them, but informative. Now, I think part of the reason why I lost interest is part because the story was reflecting a period in Thompson's life where he lost interest in doing comics through his creative block. And I think that it showed in the last few issues, and maybe that's why I wasn't reviewing it. But now that I see that he's more interested in the storyline of what's going on in his life to some level. Maybe my interest in the series will pick up again. I don't know. Recommended for ages 16 and up with adult themes and partial nudity because they go to a Korean bathhouse in the story. Recommended 16 up, 4 stars. We'll take a quick look at that book. It is a smaller book, as you can see, and compared to a normal comic bag folder, you can see that it's much smaller. He does it in black and white with red tones. Like it's just the color of the brown is actually kind of rare for him. He usually does it all black and white and red shades. And this is him talking to his grandfather before he heads out to Korea. And he's talking about how he wished he could go back to Korea and see some of his family and see some of the things he left behind. Mm-hmm. Let me get to the... Now, he's talking to his publisher here about going to Korea, and he's trying to connect with him. He's like, yeah, there's this really cool idea for you doing the ginseng root growing in America that turns into a giant kaiju monster. And Thompson's just like, are you kidding me? I'm not doing that. And then this is what the entrance to the Korean festival looks like. He drew it from a photograph. He had this giant character up there, and they got giant mechas standing up that are like 2 or 3 stories tall outside the building. Hello, Grant. And then on the bottom of that panel, there's you can see an example. They had a photo of him doing the interview with all the different people for the media. And he's scared because at this time he's thinking about even quitting doing comics completely. And he's like, do I tell him I'm thinking about quitting comics? And no, I'm thinking about doing a comic about this, Ginseng Roots. And they go bananas and go, oh, that would be the most awesome thing to do comics on. Yes, do it. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And then he has little experience, shows little things about meeting the fans. They brought in flowers. Who brings the artist flowers at conventions? But women, cute women bringing you flowers. Don't we wish we all had that in America? And this is the quick little bathhouse scene. Not much, not too bad, but I'll cover up the butts about the bottom there. But some people might get nitpicky. Some more of the artwork. Yeah, I agree with you. I do like his tones and color scheme. So again, they're talking about the culture of Korea and stuff like that. So very interesting book. Worth the time if you can find it. It's not something you're really regularly going to find in most comic shops. You're going to have to special order it. But if you happen to have one of those, like Copacetic Comics might have it out of Pittsburgh, or somebody like that might have extra copies. But that's the best way to look for them online, I think. Our next book is Shudder number 5 for $5.95. Warrant Publishing, writers Don Glut, Billy Grimm, Artie Godwin, Lynn Moran, and Lou Mugen, pardon me. Artists are Santos Zabalos, Reno Maniqui, Benito Gallego, Carlos Lamoni, Michael Berkvis, and Jeff Austin. This was released in June 2022 with an August 2022 cover date. And this is a modern-day revival of the classic Warren Comics magazines, such as Creepy and Eerie. Brought back by some of the same creators who worked on the original era run. The series is bi-monthly, black and white, and printed on newsprint, reminiscent of those classic black and white magazines. This issue is a straightforward standard issue for this magazine. There's 6 feature stories and a 1-page inside cover short. The inside cover short, Ghostly Spirits by Artie Godwin and Santos Zabalos, was fine for what it was. Artie does good 1-page quick stories. Digger of the Pharaoh's Tomb by Lynn Moran and Reno Maniqui. Maniqui does a very nice job on the drawing. Story just didn't grab me, though, unfortunately. Nothing bad to say about it. It's just there. Not My Dad's Zombie by Don Glut and Benito Gallego. Gallego is sort of phoning this one in, I think, but Glut carries it okay as a writer. The Posse by Lamoni, and Carlos Lamoni, Lamoni's art style isn't much to my liking, but it's serviceable to the story. Mysterious Meat by Billy Grimm and Santos Zabalos. The story is way too predictable. Everybody knows what mystery meat is. It's human beings. It's cannibalism stuff. But Zabalos' art sure is nice for this story. And then there's Halloween 2 by Billy Grimm and Michael Berkvis. And that's the weakest story of the lot because Berkvis' layout compositions are terrible and makes the story boring to me. First Nighter is actually the last one, pardon me, by Don Glut and Jeff Austin, which rounds out the issue. Austin's art is second best behind Zabalos. He uses a lot of different computer shading effects to simulate Zipatone, and he does it very well, and the art is very well balanced with his ink work, and he also knows how to use different traditional inking techniques to strong effect. He's actually better than Zabalos in that respect because Zabalos does one thing, and I'll show you differences in a minute. Overall, this issue is a little bit of a weaker one from previous issues. I think Zabalos and Austin's stories carry the mag to make it worth the price, and there is this nice San Julian cover to consider. But with only 5 issues into the run of the series, I don't think there should be that much of a drop-off in the quality as there was in this issue. As a result, I'm only giving it a 2.5-star rating because I really didn't like some of these stories. Some of the artists on this just didn't work for me, but we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the same Don Glut. But, and yes, it is a San Julian cover. But here's a more, and there you can see the San Julian signature, I hope. There. And it's, it's decent enough. This is Zabalos and Artie Goodwin on the inside cover. I like Zabalos' line work and shading. I think Reno Maniqui's work is very nice as well. Very clean, very crisp. Like I said, the story just didn't really grab me, but his art is always good. I don't think I've seen it. I've seen this, and I've seen their kind of Vampirella type book, but it's not Vampirella. Draculina, I think it's called, maybe. And I don't read that one either. I just get this one. Some more of Maniquee's art for that Pharaoh story. Now, this is Not My Dad's Zombie by Benito Gallego and Don Glut. And this is actually the guy who does the Tarzan comic strip. And we'll be talking a little bit more about him in a little bit. Carmilla. I don't know. Vampiress Carmilla. Okay. Well, whatever, which one. Like I said, I'm not really into it. Some more of Benito Gallego. There's a lot of nice duo shade use in here. This is The Posse by Lamoni. It's not bad art by any means. It's just not. It's a little rough at different places that I would think it shouldn't be. And then there's Zabalos for Mysterious Meat again. It doesn't look quite as good on the newsprint as it does on the glossy stock. Sometimes Zabalos gets a little rushed with his pencils or his inks, and it tends to bleed on the newsprint a little bit. And this is really cheap newsprint. You can actually see the print through the pages a lot of the time. I'll show you what I mean by being a little bit rushed on the inks. You can see it gets a little bit muddy. Even though it's stable, to look at his crosshatch in this panel, if you pull back and have it at normal reading distance, like so, well, I'll give you an idea. This is normal reading distance. It looks muddy from this distance. So that's what I mean by muddy. This is the Michael Berkfist stuff. And, part of the reason I don't like his stuff, that face is terrible, but on this page over here, in that top left corner there. But he does a lot of angular panels where it doesn't make sense for them to be at the angles like this panel right here. I don't like that. It's not making much visual sense to the story. And it's like that all throughout, where it's just, where's the background? Where are they standing on? What's going on, type thing, that I just did not like that one at all. Gotta go through the ads. Sorry. Yes, it is Vampire. Yeah, it's Vampirus Carmilla. There's the thing there. So, but yeah, I'm just not. I'm not a big fan of that one for some reason, I guess. But and then here's the Jeff Austin stuff, and I don't know. You can see his use of duo shade, computer duo shade for different levels, and then the next panel, he does duo shade for the sky and underneath the bridge, but instead of doing duo shade on the bridge itself, he's got a nice straight down hatch line for shading. And it just, he's got really nice depth perception going on with it. And then the next bottom page, you can see it's just all really well done. His lines, his depth. I don't know if you can see can you see the duo shade in the grass between the bottom panel silhouette of the grass and the figure? Because there's a lot of duo shade on that grassy field. Yes, the book is the host. That's anti-Shudder. And that's the one in the circle there. Show a little bit more of his art. Just really nice inking work. Okay. Let's go ahead and go on to the next issue of Shudder, number 6. This features possibly the final art, but definitely one of the last pieces of artwork by the master Ken Kelly, best known for doing the album covers for Kiss Destroyer and other types of heavy metal albums back in the 70s. He passed away this past June, unfortunately. And this, I think, is his actual last piece that he actually had published. The writers featured. This is a really screwed up issue in a way. The writers are Artie Godwin, Lou Mugen, and Don Glut. Artists are Angelo Torres, Reno Maniqui, Mansour Daman, Carlos Lamoni, Santos Zabalos, Michael Berkvist, and Rodel Nora. This came out a few weeks ago in August. It has a cover date of October. And you all know how much I complained on Monday about all the credits being screwed up in their table of contents. Well, they really screwed this one up. They have Billy Grimm listed as a writer, even though he doesn't even have a story in the issue. They don't credit all of their writers. They've only got 3 writers credited: Don Glut, Billy Grimm, and Artie Godwin. And obviously, it's Lou Mogan. I don't know why they did that. But it is what it is. But let's take a quick look on that. Annie's Fearsome Fables is a quick one-page, nicely executed. Dark Castle, like I said, he's not listed at all in the table of contents. Goes with Reno Maniqui with the next story. Maniqui is one of their strongest artists. Very Hammer Filmish looking story. Mogan's script is solid. Lovely twist at the end of the story as well. A Ghoul Deal by Don Glut and Mansour Daman is next. Daman has a very nice black and white gray wash style, and I would love to see it printed on a brighter glossy stock to see the difference compared to the dull newsprint that they use for this magazine to give it its classic feel. Glut story works well here. Next is The Bloody Hand of the Executioner by Glut and Carlos Lamoni. Again, Lamoni's art just doesn't pass muster for me. The story's okay. That, of course, was the story. The Red-Handed Executioner, of course, is the one that Kelly's doing the cover from. But anyway, Red Hair's Girl by Artie Godwin and Santos Zabalas. Again, Zabalas' art is a little bit rushed in this story. It's rougher than in other stories, like what was done in the previous magazine. It's still good, just not as good as some of his previous contributions. Private Screaming is by Don Glut and Mikhail Bergqvist. Now, in this case, Bergqvist's work, that was the one that did the Halloween thing where I showed you all the panels that were off kilter I didn't like from last issue. It's much improved in this issue. I don't know if Glut gave him pointers on how to lay out story pages or gave him a very defined script to stick with or what, but it's much better. The issue concludes with The Night Marchers by Lou Mugen and Rodell Nora. Great story by Mugen. Art by Nora is okay. I do wish it had been drawn by Reno Maniqui. This issue was much better than the last issue. I give it 4 out of 5 instead of 2.5. Let's take a quick look at some of the art. There's the monsters of the movies. It's just a quick mention of different films and monsters: Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and Wolfman. Drawn by Angelo Torres. Very well drawn for what it is. Like I said, very quick, nod. Since this is the October cover, October edition of the book, I guess it makes sense that they would make a little bit of a note for that. This is the Lou Mugen Reno Maniqui story for Dark Castle, the Hammer Films-ish type story. 2 vampire hunters go to a count's castle because they assume he's a vampire, and they run through all the tests with him. He has reflection in a mirror. He can eat garlic. He can do all these things. And they're just testing him to see if he's a vampire. And, it's just a really well done artwork. Finally, they get fed up with not being able to figure out what's going on, and they confront him in his bedroom. And he's like, "Oh no, I was attacked. I am a beast. It's just that I'm not a vampire. I'm a werewolf." Psych! So nice turn of events at the end there. This is the Ghoul Deal by Don Glut and Monsieur Damon. I don't know can you tell the nice quality of the washes in the print there or not? And this story is basically a cemetery caretaker makes a deal with some ghouls and says, "You can eat all the bodies you want, but give me the jewels that are buried with the bodies." And I'm not going to say what happens to him at the end. It ain't pretty. But it's a cool story for what it is. This is The Bloody Hand of the Executioner by Glut and Lamoni. And again, I just don't care for Lamoni's art. I don't know what it is. It's just, again, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just not my thing. Some more of Lamoni. And as it turns out, the guy who's the executioner commits a murder that he didn't mean to, but he's going to let someone else take the fall for it, and then the people that he's already executed come back and haunt him. That's basically the story of that. Let's see. This is the prologue. Red-haired girl. Okay. This is Red-haired Girl by Zabalos and Glut. I think it's by Glut. No, this is actually Artie. Okay. A little bit rougher, more pencil than fully inked on this one. Like I said, I think he was a little bit rushed for time. It still looks good. This is a little bit longer story, so that might be why he was a little bit rushed. This is The Private Screaming. It's about an washed-up Hammer-style actor who got blacklisted by a producer, director, and he's going to confront him, more or less, about it. And it's a good story. This is by Don Glut. Again, Michael Bergquist. The art here is much better. Like I said, there's more ground. The characters are more grounded in different locations. There's more background detail. It's correct. He still does that weird camera angle thing, like this middle panel over here that I don't care for. Cutting the face out and doing, but you know, I guess he's just trying to do a certain thing with that, but yeah, it looks all right. If it's not all panels like that, I can deal with it. But when it's all panels like the last issue story was, that's a problem. Again, this is more straightforward up stuff. He got stuck doing porno films, and his whole career was ruined, and he's taken the guy to a private screening, and he's made a deal with the devil to let the guy see what happens. And of course, all the characters that he played in the horror films when he was younger, before he got blacklisted, are coming out of the screen to attack at the end. Pretty cool story. Let's see. I'll see what I can do, North, about where you might be able to get these from them directly. And then this is the Night Marchers by Lou Logan and Rodell Nora. Rodell's art's okay, but it's a Hawaiian folklore tale. You're not supposed to go after looking for these certain zombie type people that go marching out at night, and the boy's looking for his grandfather who was missing, and it turns out pretty cool stuff. I don't want to go ahead and okay. There is a subscription to get all the back issues on the back thing, so I will scan this for you and send it to you. Send you a scan of it so you can order the back issues. Okay? How about that, North? A lot of comic shops don't order these larger magazines because they're not the right size format. People don't like big magazines. They like the 6.5 by 10.25. They don't want it bigger or smaller. They'll tell you that, and it's just a common problem with them, unfortunately. Okay. That is all of our reviews for what I've bought and read. But let's talk about previews. This came out this week. Now, of course, because nothing is everything going through Diamond exclusive anymore, Lunar and Marvel and DC didn't get their catalogs shipped out this week. They're not supposed to come until tomorrow. So I don't have it. I can't really talk about Marvel and DC books. I'll send it to you as well, Monster Fan. Absolutely. So we're going to go through these, and hopefully I can interest you in some stuff. So what is in previews in September? Well, there's always stuff to look at in the Diamond Previews catalog. We're going to take a quick browse. We're going to talk about things that caught my interest. And, of course, there's always more in the book than what I cite. And I highly recommend that you get a copy for yourselves from your retailer. Tell your retailer to order it for you so that you can pre-order from your local comics retailer. Otherwise, most of the stuff isn't going to be found in your stores. I'm going to tell you. Okay, Image Comics we'll start with. Oh, one thing that was a surprise, though, is that our friend Gary Shipman of Titan Mouse of Might is their feature indie creator this month. He has a brief interview on pages 10, 11. It's a fluff piece, but just seeing him get recognition at all from Diamond is a very pleasant surprise. And he does have a book in the, not Titan, but Packin's Land will be listed in the catalog for purchase as well. Okay, Image Comics. We start on page 32 with Scotty Young's I Hate Fairyland. It has been returned as a ongoing comic series. It's not my jam, but there's a lot of people who seem to like this guy. I don't know why, but they do. So we're going to take a quick look at it. This is the I Hate Fairyland, and you'd think that this would be kind of a sort of, it's colorful, it's kind of goofy looking, it's kind of got these covers on the bottom sort of have this kids-like look. This is a mature reader's comic, folks. I mean, it is completely mature readers. Karen is complaining about the food being gross to the person at the register, and she's like, well, it seems to me that if you don't like the food, maybe you should go somewhere else to eat. And they're like, how dare you speak like that to me? Which, of course, is what Karens do. And then, of course, all the other people are complaining at her. So she just goes ballistic on them and rips up the cash register and starts killing everybody. Only she's not. That's all in her mind. So it's typical stuff. This is the guy who did the Wizard of Oz for Marvel, though. So there you go. It's okay, I guess. It's not my bag, but some people love that stuff. Now, there's a lot of new series being solicited from Image this month, including Two Grays by Genevieve Valentine, Ming Doyle, and Annie Wu, Gospel by Will Morris, Hell to Pay by Charles Soule and Will Sliney, that's Packin's Land. I'll show it to you in a little bit. Anyway, I expect that Two Graves and Gospel and Hell to Pay will be respectable titles, as I've liked the work of the creators involved in other projects in the past. Those are on pages 36, 40, and 42. Two Graves is about it's basically Death and the Maiden go on a road trip, and the lead character asks Death to help her get rid of this one person that did wrong by her, which he does, and now they're on a road trip across the desert or whatever. And I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll take a quick look at the art. Yeah, I hate my fan blowing stuff around. The coloring's a little bit weaker, but I don't know if it's because Ming Doyle's not doing his full art or what. This is still the same. Okay, this is Gospel. And it's got this giant hog, razorback hog chasing the girl. And this is for Hell to Pay. It's kind of a futuristic sci-fi fantasy thing. The two people you see on the cover are husband and wife, and they got to get all the coins to free themselves from their slavery. And of course, there's foul play at hand. Now, those are all ones I kind of expect to be successful. I'm not sure I'm going to get those, however. One I am going to get, however, is Chroma by Lorenzo de Felici, one of 4. There's some of the artwork for that. No. Hell to Pay is an ongoing. Gospel is one of 5. And Two Graves is an ongoing. The next one, which I can't believe Image is publishing this nonsense, but they are. It's called Plush #1. It's a 6-issue miniseries. The concept is a guy goes to a furry convention and all the furries are cannibals. I don't know if there's any more artwork for that. There isn't. I'm passing on that one. Just not. I can see people who would like to read that, but it ain't me. One I am going to get is called Voyages. That's a 1 out of 5 miniseries. The creator, and I can't pronounce her name, Sumie Teekson. Question. She's the artist for Elsewhere and some other books that came out through Image, and I liked her stuff there. This is her first book that she's actually writing and drawing. The concept is one of the Voyager satellites got found by an alien world where it's almost uninhabitable, and so the lead character is going to try and find either humanity or Earth to come save her planet. So I think that's a pretty cool idea. Let me see if I can get a good close-up on the art for that. It's kind of blurring out, isn't it? That's one thing I don't like about this camera. Let's see. Okay. The next possible selection, I think, for me, some Image, is Metal Society. This is a trade collection of the miniseries 1 through 5, I think. It might be an ongoing, but I know it collects issues 1 through 5. 1 through 5. And basically, if you've seen the movie Real Steel with Hugh Jackman in it, then you know what the story is. It's just that the lead protagonist is a female, and it's MMA fighting instead of just boxing. And she has to fight robots. So I'm kind of about it. I want to see what it looks like, but I don't know if I'm going to order it or not. And I'll have to order it if I'm going to get it, because my store won't get it otherwise. On page number 61, we have Mark Guggenheim and Howard Chaykin's Too Dead to Die, a Simon Cross thriller. This is an original trade paperback, advanced listed. It's going to come out in December instead of October. And it is basically your standard 80s super spy coming out of retirement for one final adventure. And I figure, if you're into Howard Chaykin, there you go. But I don't know. I'm kind of... And that's not Howard Chaykin's art, by the way. That's Dave Johnson's cover art. If this was being drawn by Dave Johnson and not Howard Chaykin, maybe I'd get it for sure. But Howard's kind of iffy in his old age. On page 64, we have Time Before Time, Volume 3, which I'll be getting because I got the first 2 volumes, which I haven't read yet, but I might as well get them. Since I've already got the first 2, I might as well get issue 3 and at least follow the story along. Let's see. You'll still for you, bad choice. I don't know. It wasn't that bad a movie. It was better than some of the things, but it was overdone too, I think, in some ways. Okay, there's still more from Image. I gotta find it. In the whole Shudder vein, Image is into the act with they got Creepshow. This is number 3 of 5. I have a question mark by it because I haven't seen the first issue yet. It's based off the Netflix Creepshow, I think. I think it's Netflix. Oh, no, it's on the Shudder TV series. So it's the Shudder channel. Okay. Got good creators. I mean, they got Francesco Francavilla and George Corona and a few others on this. So it shouldn't be bad stories, but I don't know. But, I'll wait until the first issue comes out before I commit. The first issue was supposed to come out either last week. I think it's late for some reason. But, I don't know any of you who are wrestling fans. If you are a wrestling fan, you may have heard of Do a Powerbomb, number 6 out of 7. I would probably wait and get the whole trade collection. But it's, basically a wrestling comic. Which has been kind of a theme for them. They've done several of those type of comics at Image. We have Junkyard Joe, number 2 on 75. I'm going to get it because I'm ordering number 1, mostly because I'm almost positive that Jeff Johns ripped this off from G.I. Robot from DC and is doing his version of that, and did then, because maybe he wanted to pitch it for DC and they didn't want to let him do it or whatever. But that's what this is, and I just want to see how much of a knockoff it really is. Disagree. Hard disagree. I understand why a lot of people don't like Burns' work post 97 ish, but having inked him directly a lot for practice and for testing for jobs, I can tell you he's actually a better artist. It's just that he's more loose in his pencils, and you have to have a better inker for him than you did previous when he drew tighter pencils, but his anatomy was weaker and his figure work was a lot stiffer. So if you had a good inker like Austin or Jerry Ordway or Joe Snott, he'd look really good. If you had a bad inker, which he had quite a few, like Dave Hunt was not a good match for him back in the 70s and early 80s. I'm trying to think of who else was really bad for him. Esposito was a bad inker for him. Quite a few others as well in the early years especially. But when he inks himself, he's especially, he's a lot looser. And you just have a good inker for him. He looks all right. Mm-hmm. Let's see what else we got here. Well, you got to remember, he inks himself a lot. And while John is actually a pretty good inker for other people, I don't think he's the best inker for himself, and that's true for a lot of guys. Personally, I would love for him to get inked by Simonson on a more regular basis. They are a good pairing, but you know, you got to pay the man, and John can be very stingy in more recent years. And not unreasonably so, because after all, he's not selling a fraction of what he used to in sales like he should. Books that used to sell 50 to 100,000, he's selling like 15, and it's not. That's why you're not seeing him do real comics anymore. You're seeing him do like the Fumetti books for Star Trek for IDW and crap like that. That you're just like, what in the world? Why is he doing this? But that's why he's doing it. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Boom Studios is next. Our first book is Behold Behemoth, number 1 of 5. It's a new series. They got Gem of the Month status. It doesn't really mean a lot. Nick Robles is somebody I'm interested in seeing more from. They only show covers though here. I don't think they're showing interiors. Let me see if they got. Oh, they do have a few. They do have a few interior pages here. So I might get this one, but I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm going to wait and see what the store does. They'll probably order about 5 or 6 of these, and I'll probably look at it in the store and make my mind up then. Next is the actual cover book, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. So you know that at least Diamond believes in this, or they paid a heck of a lot of money to get the cover, one or the other. It's a post-apocalyptic, I don't know, it's post-apocalyptic wasteland storyline, usual stuff. I'm not sure if the characters are male and female or if they're two of the same gender or not, because as you can tell, they're wearing gas masks, so you really can't tell who's who or what's what, but we'll see. Another one that I'll probably look at, the character designs, they could be male, they could be female, either way. It looks like maybe 2 females, but, who knows? Now, this one I'm going to probably get pre-order. It's called Specs number 1. It's by David M. Booher as a writer. That's the guy who does Canto, and I like Canto, as you guys know. This is a more mature readers, zombie type story, I guess. But if you are familiar with the classic Roddy Piper film They Live, where he had the glasses, you could see all the aliens through the glasses, it's a takeoff on that. I'm positive of that. And so I'm curious to see what he's actually going to do with it, but we'll see. We have a possibility of getting Grimm number volume 1. I'm not entirely sold on it. I'm going to see if my store's got copies of the back issues so I can take a look at it and make up my mind on the order on that. Next we Only Find Them When They're Dead number 15. Thank God it's the final issue. This book sucks. I don't care how many awards it wins. I read the first 3 issues and was giving it 2 stars, 1.5 stars. It was a terrible freaking book. And it took them 15 issues over 2.5 years to get the dumb thing done. Just glad it's over with. Let's see. We have Eve, Children of the Moon, number 2 of 5. I reviewed the first miniseries of Eve by Victor Laval and Jomin Jeong, and I enjoyed that miniseries. So go ahead and check this one out as well. Yep. Wonder if the main character just likes to chew bubblegum. Yep. And we do. Let's see what else we got here. We got all kinds of fun stuff. Stuff of Nightmares, number 3 of 4, on the next page, which has been 120. That is the R.L. Stein of Goosebumps fame's comic. So if you're into the Goosebumps thing as a kid, you will probably like this anthology type story book. They Live As Our World Today. I don't know about that. I guess I have to find me some specs and see who the heck the nut jobs are. Who the aliens are or whatever. I know people are going to say, oh, it's the Republicans. No, it's the liberals. Dark Horse is next. And, of course, their big book is the new Brian Michael Bendis, The Ones. Because in everybody thinks they're the chosen one, but these are the actual chosen ones getting a chance to be their actual selves. And it's like, okay, whatever, Brian. Next. But someone's going to buy it. And there's their artwork for that, if it will ever show up. It might as well be as blurry as that. I'm not impressed. At all, but that's their big gung-ho book. Their second big gung-ho book is Quick Stops, number 1 of 4, I think. Yeah, and it's a Kevin Smith deal. You know what Kevin Smith is, and it's a Blunt Man and Chronic miniseries. And who cares? I don't, but some people will. Fortunately. You may have heard of the Sci-Fi Channel series Resident Alien. That was based on a comic book series that Dark Horse did for a lot of years. And they actually ended the series right before season 1 aired because it wasn't getting enough ratings. Well, apparently the ratings for Resident Alien, a TV show, have helped it come back. So they're bringing a new miniseries called Resident Alien, The Book of Love, 1 of 4. And I was a fan of this as the comic. I love the comic, not a fan of the comic, of the TV show at all. Much would rather read the comic. Let's see. If you're into Mignola, there's plenty of Mignola, but I'm kind of over him, to be honest. Let's let's see. There's other things in well, but the only thing in the rest of the Dark Horse stuff that I caught my eye was Grendel Omnibus Volume 3, Orion's Reign by Matt Wagner on page 143. And if you happened to have watched my show in the past and have seen my reviews of Neil Gaiman's Norse Mythology, then Volume 3 trade paperback is listed on 144. And I haven't reviewed the Ward yet, but I did get the miniseries, and it is collected on page 146 of the catalog. There's not a whole lot to say about that. There's the Norse Mythology trade cover. And there's the Ward trade cover, which is the same as cover 1, basically. Okay. Now, of course, if you're into the old EC archives, I guess you'd want to get, well, actually, now that I look at it, EC Archives, Weird Fantasy Volume 1 trade paperback. 260 pages for $20. I'm marking that down. Just give me a second. I have to mark that one down because otherwise I'll forget. I'll put a question mark by that and do a little more research on that one. But for $20 for 216 pages, with all the classic guys, Gardner Fox, Harvey Kurtzman, Wally Wood, Al Feldstein. I mean, come on. Jack Kamen. I mean, all the awesome people. That might be worth, that's probably worth my $20. I'm pretty sure. If they're going to do that on a regular basis, yeah, I'll get that. 216 pages. But still, $20 for 200 pages plus anytime is reasonable. Okay, that's all for Dark Horse. Dynamite actually has something that people might be interested in. They have gotten the rights to Tarzan, and Dan Jurgens is going to be writing their Tarzan comic, Lord of the Jungle, and this is drawn by Benito Gallego, whose work I showed you on Shudder. So it's going to be pretty decently drawn. And Gallego is actually the Tarzan comic strip artist currently, so he's used to drawing the character. It should be pretty well done. I'm probably going to get, it says 1 regular, 3 blank. I will probably get a couple of blank covers of this. I don't normally buy Dynamite comics at all, so the fact that I'm even taking notice tells you something. And here are some of the interior pages from the comic. All Dynamite ever was Red Sonja. I don't know. They're not all Red Sonja, but yeah, there's a lot of them that are Red Sonja stuff. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, they've got another series that I might look at in store as well, called Cherish #1. It's written by Katana Collins, who is mostly known for writing novels, but she's Sean Gordon Murphy's wife, so that tells you how she got into comics. And the character designs are by Mark Silvestri, but the book isn't drawn by Mark Silvestri, so I don't know how it's actually going to turn out. So I might look at that one in the store to just see what it is. Here's some of the interior pages for it, but it's about a woman who sees her father killed, and she gets into the corporate company that ordered his death to get revenge, basically. And that's pretty much all of the Dynamite stuff, because like I said, I'm not a Dynamite person. I guess they're going to do a Peter Cannon Thunderbolt series by Fred Van Lante and Jonathan Lau, but I'm not a fan of Jonathan's art, so I'll skip on that. And the costume is they kind of it just looks kind of dorky. It just doesn't look right. The hair being all 90s imagey crap, and the weird sash that instead of the normal belt and stuff like that. Just like not into it. But some people might like it. Okay. I might have to go a little bit further back in the book. Let's see. Yes, I do. Quite a bit. Okay. We go to Aftershock next. Fear of a Red Planet. I'm going to get this one. Mark Sable and Andrea Allen Perry. And, it's, basic science fiction story with Mars and stuff like that. It's humanity's first Martian colony is no longer self-sustaining, and they basically are slated to just be survived. And a woman is trying to figure out, as the interplanetary marshal, she's trying to figure out a way to get Earth to not be jackasses, basically. Let's see. I'm going to take a look at number 1 issue of Last Line. And this is number 3. It's being solicited. I haven't seen the book. I'm going to take a look at number 1 before I make a decision. But the concept seems to be okay. It's another one of those alien invasion type stories, but depending, the art kind of makes me interested, so I'm going to see what I can find on number 1 and then make a decision. Let's see. What else? I also recommend Rainbow Bridge and Fear Book Club for their YA titles on page 223. These are actually still available. They're available right now. You could probably get them on back order through Diamond if they're not already reordered. Rainbow Bridge, if you've ever heard the story about your animal when it passes away, it goes across the Rainbow Bridge and maybe you'll find them when you pass on. That's what it's basically a boy going to find his dog that's passed. So that's a cool idea. And Fear Book Club is, kind of a high school mystery type storyline. Our next series, Titan Books, is releasing Kamen Rider, 01, number 1 of 4. I'm going to check this out in the store most likely. I'm not really a fan of the series, but Brandon Easton's writing it, and I'll always look at what Brandon's doing, even if it's characters I'm not interested in, because he's just that good of a writer. I don't think people give him enough credit. I know I don't review a lot of his stuff, because he does a lot of characters I'm just not that interested in, like Mr. Miracle, the Black Mr. Miracle, Shiloh, whatever his name is, not my thing. But I did do his Judge Dredd False Witness book, and I did his Andre the Giant book, and a few other things he's done over the years. And I've always found him to be quite adept at what he does. So I'm going to go ahead and at least look at it when it comes in the store. My manga choice for the evening is Titan's Atom the Beginning Volume 3, Volume 1, and Volume 2 are also available in back order, still available to order, as you can see on the bottom of the ad there. I tell you where to order it from. Mainly, I don't know why I missed this, but it's 208 pages for $13, so I'll give it a shot. Again, they recommend it for fans of Battle Angel Alita and Ghost in the Shell. That's my wheelhouse for comics. And of course, it is created by Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy, so you know it's going to be quality work. So it's absolutely worth getting. So that's a definite one. Let's see. Oh, okay, I'm misreading it. But where am I? There is Traveling to Mars from Blaze Publishing on page 238. The cover caught my eye, just a cool guitar sitting in the sands of Mars. I'm like, what is that? So that caught my eye. And reading a concept, Traveling to Mars tells the story of a former pet store manager, Roy Livingston, the first human to ever set foot on Mars. He was chosen for this unlikely mission for one simple reason: he's terminally ill, and therefore has no expectation of returning. Roy is joined on his mission to Mars by Leopold and Albert, two Mars rovers equipped with artificial intelligence who look upon the dying pet store manager as a sort of god. Against the backdrop of not only his waning days, but those of human civilization as well, Roy has ample time to think about where things went wrong for both of them, meaning himself and humanity, and what it means to be a dying god. And that just sounds like an interesting concept to me. So I'm going to go ahead and get that, just because I'm just really curious on that one. Let's see if we got some of the artwork here. Here we go. And, art's, nothing wrong with the art. It looks pretty standard science fiction stuff. Good detail. So I shouldn't have too much of a problem with this one. I should enjoy it. Let's see what else we got. I'll just do it that way. Yeah. Oh, 253. Sorry about this. I don't have everything marked. I know I showed you the quick book, the quick ash can that they did for Frank Miller Presents. He's got his first two books listed now in this new thing. Ronin Book 2 on page 253. I'm only mentioning it because it's going to be talked about a lot. Philip Tan is actually doing the artwork on it. Over Miller's breakdowns. But unless you're really into the original storyline from Miller in the 1980s, I probably wouldn't bother with it. Not that Philip Tannen's art looks nice, but I mean, it's just, if you haven't read the first series, I don't know if you're going to be able to follow what's going on with it. And then there's Ancient Enemies, which is the other book, which is not by Miller, it's by Dan DiDio. And if you're a fan of Dan DiDio's writing, then yeah, I would recommend you get it. A lot of people aren't fans of Dan DiDio, but I I try to remind people that this was the guy who was behind the TV series Reboot, and that he actually was a pretty good writer before he became editor-in-chief and made the mess he did of DC Comics. So he actually isn't a bad writer, so maybe there's something there. I don't know. I might check it out, but they're kind of expensive. Both of those books are $8 each, so I'm a little bit skeptical on them. Rest of the catalog. Well, we're on page 258. We're going to cut all the way through here. Yes, we are. There's not a whole lot in the back of the catalog. Let's see, who is this? Red 5, Stonebot Productions. Mega, Rise of the Black Swan, page 380. That's issue number 2. I've reviewed Mega Series 1. That was a decent series. I gave it 3.5 to 4 stars per issue. Recommend it. Page 382. They have the spotlight on Impossible Jones, Naughty or Nice. And that is our friend Carl Kiesel with David Hahn. And that is the Holidays one-shot that he did on Kickstarter, just done through Scout Comics. So if you've already got that from his Kickstarter, you don't need to get it. But if you didn't get the Kickstarter, there it is, because Scout is reprinting all the stuff that Carl and David do for Impossible Jones. On page 385, there is Making Comic Zines One Shot. If you're interested in that sort of thing, I don't need it because I got a bunch of those already. But anybody who's watching, who's thinking about doing their own underground stuff, that's probably a good zine to look at and read up on. Worth your time. Okay. One possibility, and I don't know who the publisher is on this. I think it's Sumerian Comics, which I've never heard of, and they got a bunch of comics here. I'll just go ahead and show the Sumerian whole list of stuff. They got Heavy Metal Drummer, just a whole bunch of stuff here. On pages 396 and 397 is all Sumerian Comics. I didn't see anything here until I got to the last one on 398. There's Stargirl, STRGRL, and it's a trade, and I'm thinking about possibly getting that. The cosmic organization known as Stargirl, STRGRL, no longer exists, and enemy forces threaten the integrity of the galaxy as a whole. A group known as the Moon Gang, formed by 4 general Stargirls from the moons of Jupiter, intercept the enemy. So I would assume this is a kind of a Sailor Moon type knockoff, but it's 136 pages for $17, and the artist Lucas Mendoza, his artwork interests me. Now, of course, there is a Frank Frazetta hardcover here from Tashkent America LLC. It's just way overpriced for my budget at $200, but it is there if you have the pretty penny to spend on it. And then on the bottom corner here, there is Sentient, which is another trade that's written by Jeff Lemire of May's book and other stuff I can't even think of off the top of my head. But I'm probably going to get that one. It's $20 for 169 pages, or it is $50 for 248 pages, which is a deluxe hardcover, which has additional content, obviously. I don't know how much of a difference it is, but yep. Like I said, yeah. You know, I always said, Dan the dipshit, and now that he's gone from the company, and I see how much it's really Jimmy can't see 2 fucking inches in front of his face, Lee fucking up the company. I kind of wish that Jim had just been the one that had punted, but I knew they wouldn't punt him because he basically owns stock in DC from when he sold Wildstorm to them. So, you're not getting rid of him, unfortunately. Wish we could, as far as running the company. But anyway, back issue number 141 on page 401. That's a given for me. Also from Tomorrow's on page 402 is Marie Severin, the Mirthful Mistress of Comics. You guys know who Marie Severin is, I hope. Excellent artist, penciler, inker, production assistant in the Marvel bullpen for years. It's probably worth reading a little bit about her history, I think. Let's see what else. Shudder, number 8, is actually around here somewhere. Let's see. That's Warrant, and that's the only thing Warrant's publishing that month. So, of course, that is Shudder number 8 from Warrant Publishing. So, I don't know who the cover artist is. Let's see. Let's say. The cover is Fred Stesney, so that's the only thing they give you. They don't tell you any of the interior creators on those. So you just kind of have to, but pretty much who it is because it's always going to be Don Glut and Artie Godwin and those guys writing, and usually the same artists as well. Okay, that's pretty much it, though, for the book. I know there's all this over here, and that's their manga stuff. And unfortunately, there wasn't any manga that I was going to get, which is kind of weird, because Kodansha, I don't even think either Kodansha or Viz. It's Kodansha because there's Viz's books. Kodansha doesn't even have a listing in this catalog, which is shocking to me. I'm wondering. And there is a messed up page order as well. So if you do get this catalog, make sure you go through the whole thing or you might miss something. I'll show you what I mean. I don't know where this even goes to, but on page 485, it just opens with a page of comics, and it doesn't know what it's linked to or anything, but it's something from earlier in the catalog. Because the next thing you flip over, and it's still doing that, like a bunch of pages like this. But it doesn't say whose it's for. And I've never seen it like that before. But it does that for like 6 or 10 pages. And then it cuts to Aspen Comics. So it goes way back in the beginning of the A section. So I don't know what it goes to, though. It might, I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of a weird thing. They do the Aspen comics, which I'm not a big fan of Aspen, and then it cuts over to the flip books for the toys and the merchandise, which I almost never buy anything with, so I don't really look through those very often. There are a few more other things I forgot to mention. Okay. Did I show you where Packens Land was in the catalog? Don't know. Okay, anyway, there it is on page 288, 287, 288. He gets a full page ad there and on this side, and then on the bottom left, he's got the order number and code, which is, like I said, yeah, so that's page 280, 288 and 289. And this is just the first issue of Packens Land, a 25th anniversary edition. And it's $4.99 for 32 pages. So I don't know. I would go on his, yeah. I would look for him on Indiegogo. For his Titan and see if he's got any Packens Land trades available to add to your order if you're going to get Titan personally. But I don't know if he's going to re-release this. So, and continue it from that or not. I don't know. That would be quite an interesting development if he does. Let's see. Oh, forgot about the bud plant stuff. I knew there was. I knew there was some other things in here. Gotta find them. Okay, in this catalog, Bud Plant has books that are selling to the retailers at half cost. In other words, the book says they're offered again. Savage Art 20th Century Genre and the Artists Who Defined It. 112 pages. It says PI. Well, normally the book is like $19.95, but they're going to sell it to them so that the retailer can sell it to you for $9.95. So if you order it, make sure that you're not getting overcharged. Offered again, Shameless Art, 20th Century Genre and Artists That Defined It. Different one. Savage, this is Shameless. Same thing. It's $9.95 instead of $19.95. I would not know this, but my retailer gave me his actual order catalog, and it tells you what the actual retail prices are for the retailer versus the cover price. They also have a slipcase for Frank Frazetta, deluxe slipcase hardcover, for only $30. So that's worth getting. And I'm probably going to order that. And then there's Women of Wonder, Celebrating Women Creators of Fantastic Art, which will only be $12.50. So I'm going to get those from my retailer as well. We've been talking about heavy metal recently. If you liked the Adrian James storyline, that's available in Trade Collection on page 327. It's the only thing available from heavy metal, actually. There's two trades. This is actually a hardcover edition. It's $27 for 170 pages for a hardcover collection of the story. If you don't want to pay $13-15 for the individual issues in the anthology. If you like the Humanoids publishing, the Techno Priests is re-released, and they have a bunch of other goodies from pages 329 to 343, which I could go through. I guess I should. Let's see. I'm going to have to Sorry about this. I'm going to have to bring my light in here so I can read it. Techno Priest is $55, 408 pages, hardcover edition, and there's some of the artwork for the Techno Priest. If it wasn't the whole series, 400 pages, I wouldn't recommend it, but at that size, it's worth the $55. The In Call, I don't know if you're familiar with Jaworski's In Call series, but the new series, spin-off Psychoverse, drawn by Yannick Paquette, is also being offered from Humanoids. I also have a deluxe In Call version of all the earlier storylines. That's 320 pages. It's a slipcase, but that's $150. But that is because the In Call is one of the more popular stuff, and it is Mobius, of course. So, Mobius is always going to cost a little bit more. And there's Mobius's art for the In Call. IDW Publishing also had Canto, Tales of the Unnamed World in trade paperback on page 344. And there's a few other noticeable things I missed going through here. I should mention Strange Attractors number 8 from It's Alive, is the reprint of that old series, page 349. Nature's Labyrinth on page 353. Our friend Nick Cagnetti's Pink Lemonade number 3 at Oni is on page 365. And our friend Benjamin Morse, who does We Are Twilight through Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I can't remember which one, his series August Purgatory Underground number 4 is on page 379. Now let's get that out of the way so you can see. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so that is now everything that was in the catalog. Oh, quite a bit of stuff. So that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching, as always. I appreciate it. If you like this video or you think others might, please do me a favor and hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue your content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to get a hold of me on social media, Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. See more of my artwork, deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, suggestions for topics of discussion, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com is the address to reach me at. I'll get back to you in a day or two. Try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Now, before I head out, John knows this person, or he might remember this person. Do you remember Jeff Fool from CBR? John. Well, the reason I'm mentioning him is because, as I've been telling you, I was redoing the show for season 5. He's helping me with the graphics for hopefully the new intro and outro. I don't know if I can just put it up or not. I'm going to go ahead and try to show you something. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get the file to upload. It's going to take a few minutes, it looks like, to load it up. It's a GIF file, folks. I'm going to try and make it smaller than what he's made it, but come on. My computer's so slow. I should have put this on earlier. There it is. Okay. Let's see if it'll load. All right. Now I can share it with you. Maybe. I don't know if it's going to share it or not, but let's see if it does. That's part of what the new intro is going to look like. So I am working on things, just so you know. We're trying to get them done. And we're going to have a new outro as well that's going to feature that kind of spinning logo. Hopefully that'll make the intro a little bit more bearable than just seeing the blanks image for the music intro. So, with that being said, I think that's all for today. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. To do movie night. We're doing just a second. Where is it? It's not there. That's why. Of course. I thought it was, but it's not. That figures. Lucille Ball double feature. Dark Corner from 1946 and Nord from 1947. That's what we'll be doing. Fancy. I hope so. I hope everything works out really well. So, we're going to get it going. And that's all for now, though. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.